The sorceress Malara had been received by Anya, Katerina, and Eleonora, who, after hearing her request to meet Count Orlok, the lord of the castle, agreed to allow her to wait for his return. Though the count was absent, the possibility of his return at any moment justified her stay. Now, Malara was in the library, a place full of secrets, while the other women were elsewhere. The library was a labyrinth of towering bookshelves, filled with ancient books and dusty scrolls. Malara, however, did not seem interested in casual reading. Her serene expression concealed a sharp curiosity, and her eyes scanned the shelves with a clear purpose. She appeared to be searching for something specific, something that only these walls could hold. Her fingers glided gently over the spines of the books, as if following an instinct she couldn't quite explain. The daylight filtered weakly through the tall windows, illuminating only parts of the library, while the rest remained cloaked in shadow. From time to time, Malara would pause, pull a book from the shelf, flip through its pages quickly, then return it with a quiet sigh of frustration. What she was looking for remained a mystery. But one thing was certain: Malara was no ordinary visitor. Her presence in the castle, especially in the Count's absence, carried an aura of hidden intentions. She explored as if she knew she had only a few hours before nightfall, before the true mistresses of the castle reclaimed their domain. The library held many secrets, and Malara seemed determined to uncover at least one. What she would find, however, was something only time would reveal. Malara was a woman of striking beauty, with delicate features and eyes that seemed to hold many secrets. Her dark hair cascaded in perfect waves, and her presence was so captivating that many felt drawn to her without even understanding why. However, behind that exterior beauty lay a sharp mind and an ambition that knew no bounds. Malara desired more than what an ordinary life could offer. She sought power and the ability to shape the world around her, according to her desires. Her will was as intense as her beauty, and together these qualities made her a force to be reckoned with. The sorceress understood that the absence of the women in the castle for most of the day seemed to be merely a reflection of a routine for those who had matters to attend to. This was an advantage for her at the moment, as it allowed her to explore the castle with greater ease. So far, Malara had found nothing of interest. Night had fallen, bringing an even more mysterious atmosphere to the castle. As she explored one of the many rooms, she came across Katerina, who appeared with her usual elegance and cold demeanor. Malara began asking many questions, her curiosity overflowing with each word. She spoke of the grandeur of the castle, admiring its imposing architecture and the atmosphere that seemed to breathe history and mystery. Katerina, ever shrewd, answered cautiously, choosing her words carefully so as not to reveal more than she should. Malara seemed genuinely fascinated, but there was also a hint of suspicion in her eyes, as if she knew there was more hidden within these walls than she could see. As the two conversed, the night deepened, and the castle seemed to come alive, as if it were watching every movement, every word exchanged. Malara continued her search for answers, believing that sooner or later, the truth about the castle and its inhabitants would come to light. Until then, it was a game of cat and mouse, where every detail could be crucial. Malara wandered through the castle, her curiosity guiding her through endless corridors and rooms. It was then that she encountered Anya, whose presence was as captivating as it was mysterious. Seizing the opportunity, Malara asked about Count Orlok's life. She mentioned having heard rumors that the Count was far older than he appeared, and questioned Anya about what she could say on the matter. Anya, ever skilled at keeping secrets, responded with a smile. She admitted to having heard the same stories, tales that spoke of the Count's centuries-long existence and his possession of the secret to eternal life. However, Anya quickly dismissed these ideas as mere rumors, suggesting that they were nothing more than legends born from people's imaginations. Malara, though trying to hide her dissatisfaction, did not seem convinced by Anya's response. Her eyes still gleamed with the same relentless curiosity, as if she knew there was more beneath those words. Sensing the need to end the conversation, Anya mentioned that she had to leave with Eleonora, but assured Malara that they would return soon. Meanwhile, Melara was free to continue exploring the castle at will. As soon as Anya walked away, Melara was alone once more, her mind spinning around the evasive answers she had received. The castle, with its secrets and mysteries, seemed to beckon her to uncover more, and Melara was determined not to let anything stop her. The night was still young, and she knew that somewhere within those ancient walls, the answers she sought were waiting to be found. Melara persisted in her search, moving through the castle's corridors with a determination that only grew stronger with each step. When she finally believed she was close to something, an answer she had been desperately seeking, she was suddenly interrupted by Katerina. Katerina appeared with her usual elegance, but this time there was a genuine curiosity in her eyes. Katerina wanted to know more about Melara, about the kind of hidden knowledge she possessed. Without hesitation, Melara replied that she had been studying the dark arts for years, particularly how to manipulate supernatural energies. However, she admitted that she still needed to refine this ability further. Katerina listened intently, her face unreadable, but her eyes betrayed a deep interest in what Melara was saying. After hearing her explanations, Katerina withdrew without asking any further questions, leaving Melara alone once again. The witch, sensing she was getting closer to uncovering what she sought, decided to retire to her chamber. There, surrounded by books and notes she had brought with her, Melara reflected on all she had learned so far. She believed she was on the verge of something, a revelation that could change everything. The castle, with its secrets and mysteries, seemed to whisper to her. Melara knew that the castle still held many surprises. But after a search, it was time to rest, to regain strength with a good night's sleep. Another day dawned, yet there was still no sign of the women or the count. Melara decided to continue her search. Her instincts led her to an area of the castle where she believed she might find something useful. Carefully, she examined objects and paintings on the walls until, at last, she found a hidden lever. Upon activating the mechanism, a wall slid open, revealing a secret room. Inside, there was an unusual structure. Ancient books, yellowed scrolls, complex formulas, and a variety of mysterious objects filled the space. Melara, fascinated, began studying as much as she could. Hours passed as she delved into texts and diagrams. At one point, something caught her attention. In one of the books, she found information suggesting a way to attain eternal life. Melara realized that one of the Count's secrets was that he was a sorcerer, and that the stories about his immortality might not be mere rumors. The discovery was groundbreaking, but Melara knew she couldn't stay there much longer. Night was approaching, and the women could return at any moment. Carefully, she left the secret room, making sure everything was exactly as she had found it. Then she headed to her chamber, where she began devising a plan. The knowledge she had uncovered was invaluable, but also dangerous. Melara knew she would have to proceed with caution if she wanted to fully explore what she had learned. As nightfall approached, her mind worked relentlessly, strategizing and weighing the risks. Melara had everything mapped out in her mind, every detail of what she had discovered in the secret room. She knew she couldn't risk having that knowledge denied to her by the Count. This was a unique opportunity, and so Melara prepared meticulously. She knew that during the day, gypsies roamed around the castle, seemingly serving as guards under the Count's command. At night, the women emerged, taking control of the place. Melara needed to act with precision, avoiding all of them. Melara knew she couldn't take everything alone. As for what she had found in the secret room, several books, scrolls, and mixtures, she needed time and the help of someone else. The castle was a labyrinth, but Melara was determined not to let anything stand in her way. She believed that if she could escape with the knowledge she had acquired, she could finally achieve the power she so deeply desired. Melara had arranged for her coachman to return to pick her up at the castle in 3 nights. However, some things had changed. Taking advantage of the presence of the gypsies, Melara paid one of them to deliver a coded message to her coachman, instructing him to come for her 1 night earlier than planned. Everything was in place. Now all that remained was to execute the plan. During her stay, Melara had noticed how the women of the castle watched her with an interest that bordered on desire. She intended to use this to her advantage. On the night before her departure, the women would be lured into her chambers, where Melara would receive them with a special drink. The drink, infused with a powerful formula Melara had learned, would cause the women to fall into a deep sleep. And during that sleep, their hearts would stop beating, leading them to their deaths. They would sleep for days, perhaps even longer, giving Melara more than enough time to escape undisturbed. The deaths of the women were a small price to pay in exchange for the power Melara so desperately desired. Now, all that remained was to draw them in. Melara realized she didn't know what kind of threat the women truly posed, or what they might do if they were forced to defend the Count's possessions. For that reason, the best course of action was to neutralize them. The night was approaching. Melara needed to act cautiously. She prepared the drink with great care, ensuring that the formula was perfect. Melara knew that the success of her plan depended on ensuring that all the women attended her chambers on the designated night. She didn't want to be caught off guard by one of them while she was in action. She needed every single one of them to drink the prepared potion so that they would fall into a deep and deadly sleep. Thus, on the night before her departure, she met with Anya. Melara explained to Anya that she wanted to host a gathering with all the women in her chambers for a very interesting and enjoyable activity. She mentioned that the Count might take longer to return to the castle and that she couldn't stay much longer, so she would be leaving in 3 nights. Anya expressed that it would be a shame for Melara to leave without speaking to the Count, and that she and the other women truly appreciated her presence in the castle. Melara, with a gentle smile, replied that she had also enjoyed their company and wished to have a special night in her room, inviting all the women for a pleasurable gathering. Anya seemed to understand the invitation, stating that the women were open to the idea and that she would inform Katerina and Eleonora about the meeting. She assured Melara that they would all be in her room at the agreed time. Both women exchanged a smile, and Melara left the room with the feeling that everything was going according to plan. Now she only had to wait for the next night, when her plan would be set in motion. Melara retreated to her chambers, where she mentally reviewed every detail, certain that nothing could go wrong. If everything went smoothly, the women would be out of her way. It was night. Light footsteps and laughter echoed through the corridors as the women of the castle made their way to Melara's room, just as they had planned. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation and curiosity, as the women were genuinely excited about what Melara might have prepared for them. Anya, Katerina, and Eleonora chatted animatedly, speculating about what awaited them. Anya remarked that Melara seemed to have something special in mind, something that could make the night even more memorable. Katerina, though more reserved, admitted she was curious to see what Melara had planned. Eleonora, on the other hand, smiled with an air of mystery, suggesting they were open to whatever Melara had prepared. The women saw the gathering as an opportunity for something different, a break from their routine. They didn't know exactly what Melara had in store, but they were willing to be surprised. Upon arriving at Melara's room, the women were greeted by a carefully arranged setting. Candles illuminated the space, creating an intimate and inviting atmosphere. The night was only just beginning. Melara was fully prepared, with the potion already mixed into a drink that appeared harmless. The gathering began with light conversations, laughter, and a relaxed atmosphere. But Melara had a clear objective in mind. While the women talked, she took the opportunity to extract valuable information that could aid her plan. During the discussions, the women revealed that the gypsies only entered the castle when summoned, and that Eleonora was the one responsible for keeping the key to the main entrance. These details were crucial to Melara, who now knew she wouldn't be caught off guard by unwanted guards and wouldn't be trapped inside. Carefully, she guided the conversation naturally, ensuring that the women remained unaware of her true intentions. The women were completely captivated by Melara's charm and presence. The women were completely absorbed by Melara's charms and attributes. Her presence, infused with a mix of mystery and seduction, seemed to ensnare them in a web of fascination. They allowed themselves to be guided by all of Melara's suggestions, as if caught in a rare moment of relaxation. Anya, Katerina, and Eleonora found themselves in an unusual position, where Melara herself seemed to dictate the rhythm of the night. Melara, with her keen ability to read people and her cunning, knew exactly how to keep them engaged. She served the prepared drink, a liquid that shimmered softly under the candlelight. The atmosphere was so inviting, so full of promise, that none of them questioned what lay behind that seemingly perfect night. Anya was the first to drink, followed by Katerina and Eleonora. They laughed, teased, and shared stories, completely at ease in Melara's company. The sorceress, on the other hand, observed every movement, every reaction, with a calculating gaze that concealed her true intentions. She knew the potion's effect wouldn't be immediate, but she also knew that once it took hold, it would be irresistible. As the night progressed, the women began to feel a slight dizziness, attributing it to the relaxing environment and the drink. Melara, always attentive, continued steering the conversation, keeping them distracted while time worked in her favor. She spoke of tales of magic, of ancient secrets, and of the power that could be achieved with the right knowledge. The women in trance listened to her every word, completely captivated by Melara's storytelling. However, as the minutes passed, the effects of the potion began to intensify. The women, who had never experienced anything like it, felt their strength fading, their minds slowing. Anya tried to stand, but her legs refused to obey, and she collapsed back down, her eyes heavy, her vision blurred. Katerina and Eleonora, realizing what was happening, attempted to react, but the potion had already taken effect. They felt their bodies growing heavier, their minds sinking into a thick haze. Melara, cold and calculating, watched as the women succumbed to the deep sleep she had orchestrated. The women, who had allowed themselves to be enchanted by Melara, were now completely at her mercy. The night, which had begun with laughter and lively conversation, ended in silence. Melara needed to finish what she had started. The night, which had once seemed so promising for the women of the castle, now belonged to Melara, and she was going to make the most of it. The women's bodies were relaxed from the potion. Melara observed them with satisfaction, feeling that her intuition had been right. From the very beginning, Melara had sensed that the women of the castle desired her, and this had proven to be true. They had fallen into her trap with an ease that almost surprised her. Everything was going exactly as planned. As the night progressed, Melara served the prepared drink. They, confident and unsuspecting, drank without hesitation. The potion worked slowly, and one by one, the women fell into a deep sleep, so intense that they would never wake again. Melara watched them with a cold smile, knowing that the success of her plan depended on this very moment. With the women incapacitated, she could finally carry out her plan without interference. She knew she had time until her carriage arrived, scheduled to pick her up the following night. While she waited, she began to explore the castle with more freedom, seeking the secrets Count Orlok had hidden away. Everything was going smoothly, and Melara felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The castle, with all its riches, was practically in her hands. Now, all she had to do was wait for the perfect moment to leave, taking with her the secrets the Count had kept hidden. As planned, Melara's carriage arrived at the castle at the exact hour. The coachman, loyal and discreet, stopped near the main entrance, waiting for Melara's instructions. The night was silent, and the castle seemed to be in a deep slumber, as if its very walls were unaware of what was about to unfold. Melara took a precaution to avoid future problems. She instructed the coachman to take the life of the gypsy messenger so that no one else would know where the sorceress resided. The true information about this had been withheld from the inhabitants of the castle. Melara, already prepared, acted quickly and efficiently. She made her way to the secret room she had discovered days earlier, where Count Orlok's secrets were kept. Melara gathered all the materials she deemed essential: ancient books, scrolls with complex formulas, and artifacts. Each item was a crucial piece in the power she so desperately desired, and Melara would leave nothing behind. Milara, with the help of her coachman, searched Count Orlok's estate with a determination that only grew with each new discovery. Now she felt like the true mistress of the castle, as if the ancient walls and shadowed corridors had finally recognized her presence. For a long time, she had sought the formulas and rituals that would grant her eternal life, and the legends of Count Orlok, a man who had supposedly attained such power, were what had brought her there. For Milara, eternal life was not just a matter of survival, it was an obsession. She longed to preserve her beauty forever, remaining young and radiant while the world around her aged and crumbled into ruin. With immortality, she believed she could obtain everything else she desired: wealth, power, influence. The castle, with its secrets, was the key to fulfilling her most ambitious dreams. As she explored the estate, Milara felt a mix of excitement and triumph. Every room, every object seemed to confirm that she was on the right path. The ancient books, the scrolls covered in unknown symbols, the strange artifacts, all of it was part of a puzzle she was determined to solve. Her coachman, though he did not fully understand what she sought, followed her orders loyally, helping her carry and organize the items she deemed valuable. Milara believed she was in control, that she had finally found the path to eternal life. Milara, as she searched the castle's corridors and rooms, couldn't help but think about the women who lived there: Anya, Katerina, and Eleonora. They were almost like shadows, moving silently through the corners of the castle, always watching. She wondered what they represented to Count Orlok. Were they his servants, his companions, or something deeper, something she had yet to understand? She imagined the stories behind those women. How had they come to the castle? What had led them to live in such an isolated place, far from the outside world? Milara supposed that perhaps they had once been ordinary women who, by a twist of fate, had been drawn into a life of servitude or protection under the Count. Maybe they had been abandoned, betrayed, or even rescued by Orlok at some point in their lives. She imagined that, like herself, they too had dreams and ambitions, but for some reason, they had ended up trapped in that castle, guarding its secrets and its master. However, Milara couldn't ignore that there was something different about them, something she couldn't quite define. They were beautiful, yes, but there was a strange aura around them, an energy that seemed to emanate from within, as if they carried a secret no one else knew. As the night went on, the women of the castle, with their hidden stories and secrets, remained in a deep sleep from which they would never awaken. Once Milara had gathered everything, she and the coachman transported the items to the carriage, moving in silence. The castle's courtyard, illuminated only by the faint light of the moon, bore witness to the scene in complete silence. Milara felt a mix of excitement and relief, knowing she was about to leave that place with secrets that would change her life forever. The coachman, though curious about the contents of the boxes and packages, asked no questions. He knew his role was simply to follow Milara's orders, and he did so with unwavering loyalty. With everything in place, Milara took one last look at the castle, its towering, shadowy structures seeming to watch her departure. She knew this might be the last time she set foot in that place, but she was also aware that she was taking with her something far more valuable than any material treasure. The knowledge she had obtained was the key to the power she had long desired. A wave of satisfaction washed over her. The plan had been executed flawlessly, and now she was free to explore the full potential of what she had acquired. The castle, with all its shadows and secrets, would be left behind. Milara was about to step into the carriage, her mind already envisioning the future she would shape with the secrets she had stolen from the castle. However, before she could take the final step, something unexpected happened. The three women, Anya, Katerina, and Eleonora, appeared before her and her coachman. The sight immediately shocked Milara, leaving her frozen for a moment as she struggled to comprehend how this was possible. She wondered how the women had awakened. The potion she had prepared was powerful, tested, and proven effective on previous occasions. Those who consumed it did not survive. However, there they were, the three women standing tall, their gazes piercing, their smiles a mixture of amusement and superiority. Anya, Katerina, and Eleonora burst into laughter, a sound that echoed through the castle courtyard, blending with the silence of the night. Anya was the first to speak, her voice dripping with irony. "Did you really think you could deceive us, Malara?" She laughed again, while Katerina and Eleonora exchanged knowing glances. Katerina added, "We are not ordinary women, Malara. Whatever you put in that drink would never have the same effect on us as it would on mere humans." Malara, still trying to process the situation, felt a chill run down her spine. She stared at the women, her mind racing for an explanation. Finally, she found the courage to ask, "Then, what are you?" Anya, with a smile that revealed her sharp fangs, replied, "We are vampires, Malara. Creatures of the night, immortal, and far more powerful than you could ever imagine." The revelation struck Malara like a thunderbolt. She had always suspected that there was something unusual about the castle and the Count, but she had never imagined she was dealing with vampires. Now faced with the truth, she felt a mixture of fear and fascination. The women, however, did not seem inclined to give her time to process the information. Eleonora, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward, her eyes glowing with an eerie light. "You tried to deceive us, Malara, and that cannot go unpunished." The night, which had seemed so promising, was now filled with uncertainty, and Malara had to think fast if she wanted to make it out alive. Eleonora took the lead, her gaze locked onto Malara as a sinister smile spread across her lips. She commented that Malara had given her a lot of fun, but could offer something even more valuable, her blood. The same fate awaited the coachman, who, paralyzed by fear, could barely react to what was about to happen. The three vampires moved with incredible speed, their sharp fangs gleaming under the moonlight. Malara, who until then had felt in control of the situation, now found herself completely at the mercy of the creatures she had underestimated. She tried to step back, but it was too late. The vampires, with their sharp fangs and glowing eyes, surrounded her, and the air around them seemed charged with a dark, predatory energy. However, instead of attacking her immediately, the three women appeared to be enjoying the situation, as if it were nothing more than a game to them. Anya let out a deafening laugh, a sound that made Malara shudder. "Trying to kill a vampire with poison?" Anya said, amusement lacing her voice. "Not the best idea you've ever had, Malara." Katerina added, "Malara, were you trying to take things from the castle? How naive. But at the same time, how audacious." Eleonora, meanwhile, watched Malara with an almost nostalgic expression. "It's a shame you have to leave this world," she said, her voice soft yet heavy with a strange melancholy. "You are a very beautiful woman, Malara. Too bad you didn't know how to use that beauty in a more intelligent way." The three vampires laughed again, their laughter echoing like a macabre chorus that filled the night air. Malara, now completely paralyzed by fear and shock, could barely process what was happening. She, who had felt so powerful and in control, was now at the mercy of creatures unlike any she had ever encountered before. The vampires, however, seemed in no rush to end the encounter. Anya's eyes gleamed with a light that seemed to come from within. "You underestimated us, Malara. And now you will see what happens to those who toy with the darkness." Katerina and Anya revealed their sharp claws. They seemed to be savoring every moment, every second of the despair Malara was feeling. For them, this was just another night in their eternity. But for Malara, it was the end of everything she had planned and desired. Two of the vampires drew closer and closer to Malara and her coachman, surrounding them. The vampires, intimidated with their skill and strength, they had complete control of the situation. The coachman, attempting to flee, was swiftly intercepted by Anya, who immobilized him with ease. Eleonora, meanwhile, remained nearby, watching the scene with a mix of pleasure and cold detachment. "You were searching for eternal life, weren't you?" Eleonora said, her voice soft but dripping with irony. "Now you will feed us in a way you never imagined." Malara tried to fight, but her strength was insignificant against the power of the vampires. The reality was far different from what Malara had expected. She was surrounded by unusual women and had never realized it during her time in the castle. The situation grew increasingly dire. There seemed to be no escape for Malara and her coachman. Terror had completely taken hold, and Eleonora watched the scene with genuine pleasure. Anya gripped the man tightly and quickly sank her fangs into his neck. Eleonora observed everything. Katerina, holding Milara firmly, also struck, sinking her fangs into her. The warm, vital blood flowed down the vampires' throats as they savored every drop. The sorceress, who had so desperately craved power and immortality, now felt her life slipping away rapidly, her vision darkening as her strength abandoned her. Yet Milara still clung to a thread of consciousness, just enough to grasp the irony of her situation. She, who had meticulously planned to seize the Count's secrets and achieve eternal life, was now on the brink of death, a victim of the very creatures she had thought were merely castle attendants. The vampires, satisfied, withdrew from their prey, their expressions content. Eleonora gazed down at Milara, who now lay on the ground, her life fading fast. "You underestimated the power of darkness, Milara," she said, her voice echoing like a final whisper. "And now, you pay the price for your arrogance." In her final moments, Milara could barely process what had happened. Her pursuit of power and immortality had ended in tragedy, at the hands of the very vampires she had underestimated. The night, once filled with promise, now bore witness to the end of her journey.